What's up, everyone? It's your Poke Bowl show. I'm Poke. There's Bull
the
and our
ball.
special guest.
It's the nurse. That's
The
right.
How's
sports
it going, everybody? It was my turn to go.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the nerd.
Okay, we're figuring this out one bit at a time.
That's all
What's
right.
up, you guys? It is the sports nerd, Derek Hegner, rocking and rolling and ready to go.
That's what's up. Let's get it going. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What we're doing is a collaboration bracket. Whatever team gets 2 or all 3 votes moves on, and whoever gets 1 or 0 votes, well, goodbye to them. Out. Okay, guys.
Sounds fair.
UConn versus Stetson. Let's hear it.
It's UConn. I don't have to explain much.
Yeah, I was about to say, do we even need to vote? I think it's pretty fair. It'd be funny.
Yeah.
26 plus 26 and a half. I'll vote for that, but not to win outright. No.
Yeah. What was the spread on Purdue when they lost to Fairleigh last
It was
year?
like,
They were
Does
like
anyone know off that head?
20, 23, 24.
yeah, I think it was
like that.
23 and a half.
It was something like that.
It's like 2 straight 20 plus. That'd be funny.
That'd be wild.
FAU versus Northwestern. This one might need some picks.
A little bit more explanation, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. I want to pick Northwestern, but I'm leaning towards FAU.
I have a feeling that I'm going Northwestern, and I think I love Boo Buie, and I'm not as high on FAU as I was last year. So give me Northwestern.
Oh, Derek.
Yeah, and this is why I'm here now. We're figuring that out pretty fast. But I was back and forth on this for a long time.
Mhm.
Like there were times when I had FAU, times when I had Northwestern, and went back and forth.
That's how I
But
was.
in the end, FAU, I know they made it to the Final Four last year. I know Dusty May's a very good coach, but they just haven't been that good this year.
Yeah.
Like I knew they weren't going to win their conference tournament. I thought it was going to be Dan's South Florida Bulls.
South Florida.
That's where I was going, but ultimately that didn't go that way either. It ended up being Duquesne, right?
No, UAB.
Okay.
Duquesne was 8-10.
Oh, okay. Okay, kind of get them mixed up. I knew they were in that little bit here, but yeah, I would say at this point when it's this close, I'll usually lean towards who's got the best player, and right now that's Northwestern with Boo Buie. So right now, just give me them. Let's see what happens.
I like it. I was 50-50 torn on this game, so
yeah, I was like 70-30 Northwestern on this one.
I would prefer.
Yeah, I kind of waffled back and forth. I'll probably make a few other brackets and kind of flip this one around. So.
Yeah, man.
It could go either way.
We good. I know they're not all that, so I got Northwestern.
Yeah. So we got San Diego State, UAB. I don't think UAB is that good. I'm going San Diego State, even though I'm not high on them personally.
I agree. I'm going San Diego State as well. I just think that they're more disciplined. The defense is better, and Jaden Ledee's a beast. I gotta go San Diego State.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't trust UAB, and plus San Diego State, they don't have Matt Bradley, but they have Jaden Ledee. They still have a good defense. Brian Dutcher's still a good coach.
Yeah.
Let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Auburn versus Yale. I think this is a giant mismatch. Of the 4v13 games, I'm most confident probably in this one. I got Auburn. I don't think Yale is going to make the Princeton Magic last year. Auburn, they're just a really good team, even though they struggle against those quad one opponents. I got Auburn.
Yeah, I got Auburn too. And look, Yale they have a good starting five, but they have no depth. I'm going with Auburn. And Auburn plays a ton of guys, and they throw a ton of bodies at Danny Wolf, man. He's going to be in for a long day, so give me Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was about to say Danny Wolf matched up pretty good with Hunter Dickinson during the
Yeah.
Kansas game, if I remember right. So
Yeah.
him versus Johnny Broom should be a fun matchup, but I'm gonna take Auburn too. The metrics, love them. I think they're one of the few teams that have their top 10 or top 15 in both of the Ken Palm ratings.
I think they're
And I know that
overall.
I know that Ken Palm's not exactly a
Mhm.
perfect science. Nothing is, but
No.
at the same time, you can at least
They're a
use
good
it a little bit. Yeah, they're a good team, and
Mhm.
everything, the eye test, metrics, basic statistics, it all proves it. So give me Auburn to
Yeah.
run through this, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. BYU versus Duquesne. This one I'm a little iffy on. I'm gonna go with the team that can shoot lights out. Duquesne sometimes goes cold on offense, and if BYU continues their 3-point shooting, if I'm gonna go with the Cougars of BYU personally.
Duquesne is an interesting team. Their defense is really good. I mean, they held VCU to 50, like about 50 points in their title game. And their backcourt's really good. Data Grant and Jimmy Clark, that's a very good backcourt that they have. I just feel like I agree with Michael about them going cold. And against a really good shooting team like BYU, they shoot a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes per game. And I just think this is a tough matchup for Duquesne here. I got BYU.
What did you
Yeah,
have?
I would end up agreeing. I know that's Duquesne's got a good defense, but as we've seen multiple times with these strong defensive teams,
Mhm.
you are liable to have a very cold shooting night, and then it does not matter. It doesn't matter if you give up 60 points if you're putting in 50 at your own end. BYU can shoot the lights out. They're in the Big 12, which is an extremely competitive conference. I would say far and away the best conference in the nation this season. So
Most definitely.
I would say just give me best shooters, best conference, and that's BYU to me.
Yeah. I
I
just
agree,
want
100%.
everyone to know Derek and Dan have identical brackets. They are picking the exact same teams.
So far, it looks good. It looks good.
Good
It's
minds
smart.
think alike, brother.
Yes, sir. That's right. That's smart.
Illinois versus Morehead State. Honestly, really weak 14 seeds this year. I don't think the 14 seeds are that good. Illinois, I think, has an incredible offense. I would love to see a BYU Illinois matchup because that's going to be an absolute shootout. I got Illinois in this matchup.
Yeah, I got Illinois as well, and I just don't think Morehead State has the firepower to match up with this Illinois offense. I do think that Morehead can score quite a bit against this Illinois defense. That's not very good. But I just think Illinois' talent and guard play is superior here in this situation. Give me Illinois.
All right. So I'm gonna give you something here real quick.
Okay.
Iowa versus Richmond. I think this was in 2022 where Iowa had the superior firepower,
They were
NBA caliber
hyped
player.
up to be a Final Four run as a 5
But
seed.
the problem is you have a mercurial coach at this stage. The Big Ten is bound to let you down at multiple points.
That's true.
And then they played against a Richmond team where that slowed the pace down, was methodical, was clever, was efficient in their offense. And Morehead State kind of reminds me of that. Illinois does not read. Illinois can be a little deficient at points, I feel, especially defensively. I know they have Terrence Shannon. I know they have Domask. I know those guys are good.
Yes.
But at the same time, Morehead State has one of the better mid-major coaches in Preston Spradlin. They are very efficient at the offensive end, and they like to control the pace as well. And plus, the biggest weakness that Morehead State has is their turnover rate. Illinois does not turn teams over, though. They're one of the worst in the nation in turnover rate. So they can't really exploit that matchup. I did kind of waffle on this one a little bit. At first, I did have Illinois, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this bracket is kind of getting, this region at least is getting a little bit too chalky for my liking. So
good reason.
So I just went, you know what? And even though the 14 seeds admittedly are a little on the weaker side this year, in large
Mhm.
part because of all the base stealing.
Yeah,
There's bound to be one big upset.
that's
This
true.
and it's been that way for most, if not all, of the tournaments in recent memory. And I feel like this is the one I can highlight and say there's a shot here.
There is.
So I'm good being I'm good being the dissenting opinion here, but
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if Illinois is bounced first round.
I wouldn't
I
be
like it.
surprised.
I like the call. Yeah, they got the OVC Player of the Year. Riley Minix is an absolute
Yeah,
stud, and
you gotta call your
you
shot
know
at
that.
some point.
That's actually a good shot, and I gotta give you credit for that. Their defense is tough. They do control pace, and they got some shooters on. I mean, Khalil Thomas is a 40% 3-point shooter. That guy can knock down shots. I've seen him go unconscious, especially in the OVC tournament I watched. And I also saw Drew Thello just run the point, and he makes really good decisions 90% of the time. And that's a key recipe for an upset.
Mhm.
It wouldn't shock me at all.
And let's just say they missed out on putting Auburn and Illinois switched because then
The
Drew
giant
would have gone
Right.
against his old
Oh.
team.
Oh yes,
That would have
you
been
know me, I love
That
a
would
good
have been
revenge.
fun.
I
that
love
would have been a
good revenge.
great
I'll admit that.
storyline.
Yeah, I would
Like,
like that.
why couldn't they just? In my opinion, they were both pretty even. I mean, you could have easily switched Illinois and Auburn around, but
Probably, yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Washington State versus Drake. This is an interesting matchup. I think this game is a very 50-50 type game. Washington State's overachieved expectations tremendously, but Drake just finds ways to win. DeVries and his son Tucker are just incredible coaching and star player duo. And I think the big deciding factor is the fact that this game is played in Omaha, which is going to just favor Drake's fan base much easier. I think it's only a couple hours away from Drake. So give me Drake Bulldogs here in the slight 10/7 upset.
I gotta shout out Kyle Smith first of all. I mean, what an incredible job he's done. They were picked 10th in the Pac-12 and they finished second. That's a huge achievement, and he should be a candidate for National Coach of the Year for how he's done. And Wazoo, this is a solid team. And for Drake, you're right about DeVries. He's an amazing player. I'm gonna disagree. I'm going Washington State. I'm very high on this Washington State team for some reason to move on and win a game in March.
Derek, you're the deciding factor.
Yep, here we go again. Yay. Anyways, I agree. Kyle Smith should absolutely be in the running for Coach of the Year. Miles Rice is a tremendous player, great story behind him. And I really like this Washington State team. I've said it for the last little bit in our conversations, but I would choose them in any other matchup but this. Because Drake, I feel, has a similarly good coach in DeVry. Tucker DeVries is a great player. Drake has depth. They may have the home field advantage in this matchup, obviously, because of Omaha's proximity to this. And Drake played in a relatively solid mid-major conference. Them and Indiana State made that entire thing so interesting. That was a fun matchup. And it sucks that we're not going to see Robbie
Kareem
Abdul-Jabbar boy.
Oh,
my man.
Yeah, it was a crime that they left them out.
Yeah,
I mean, so disappointing.
But I have a couple of ideas. Like I think we can still make a March Madness star somewhere in this bracket, but we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah.
But I would say I love Washington State. I want to see them do well. I just think this is not a good matchup. Give me Drake.
This next matchup, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Give me the Cyclones. This isn't Baylor Shireman team for South Dakota State anymore. Cyclones got this one in the bag.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that. Iowa State's going to win this game. Just remember, TJ Otzelberger did coach at South Dakota State before going to Iowa State. So yeah, I'm going to go with Iowa State pretty convincingly here.
Aren't you forgetting what was between those points?
Oh yeah. I know, right?
Yeah.
South Dakota State, UNLV,
Yeah, it's like
Iowa State. There you go. That's right.
it's like acknowledge me. Give me my
Acknowledge it.
respect.
Okay, Tribal Chief, I see you.
Of course, we the ones, you know.
Tribal Chief.
Always gotta respect. But yeah, let's make it short. I've seen people say South Dakota State is a potential upset bid. I don't see it. I think Iowa State's just got one of the best, if not the best defenses in the nation.
I mean,
I love TJ Otzelberger as a coach. Give me Iowa State all the way.
That Big 12 tourney, they dominated every opponent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like, it
even
was-
Houston, which shocked me.
And
Like it was in a little bit of flux in the first half just because both of those defenses are so good. But
Yeah.
Iowa State, they showed they can get that offense clicking,
Yeah,
and
and-
they're not as prone to cold spells as Houston was
yeah,
in that matchup. But I like the fact that Iowa State could get that adversity, get that out of the way. I
Mhm.
think they're a legitimate contender.
I agree. And even in the Baylor and K-State matchups, it was close in the first half, and then the second half came and they were dominating. It wasn't even close at
Better adjustments.
Mm-hmm. We'll stay in this region. We got UConn Northwestern. The reigning champ has lost in the first weekend every year since 2017. I just don't see it this year in this matchup. I got UConn winning this one.
Yeah, me too. And it's just sad that that curse is gonna be broken. I got Connecticut too.
Yeah, obviously there's a thing to say about historical trends, but
Mhm.
for the most part, those teams, they had some flaws attached to them that could make it at least plausible to see why. I just don't see
Yeah.
an exploitable flaw like that in UConn. Like a team is going to need to play an almost perfect game to
only
take them
one-
out.
The only one that was really, really shocking was 2017 Villanova, and they were an overall number 1 seed, but played Wisconsin, who was very underseeded. I don't think either FAU or Northwestern was very.
Oh yeah, FAU, if anything, is overseeded.
Oh
Exactly.
yes.
I mean, Northwestern is
Properly.
right there on the 8-9 line. They were there all season.
Yeah.
So I think past this point, we're going to need to give them a little bit more thought.
Yeah.
But I would say second weekend, you can pretty safely pencil them in.
I agree.
I agree too.
We
They're the
got
most bulletproof #1 seed in my eyes.
agreed. We got San Diego State versus Auburn. I got Auburn in kind of blowout type game. I think Auburn's just gonna whoop San Diego State.
I don't know about whooping them, but I do think they'll beat them. I just think that it's going to be a closer game than you expect because it's hard to blow out San Diego State.
That's-
Everybody knows that. I just think Auburn is just more skilled, all overall as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, San Diego State, they have some great individual players that know their roles really well. But I just think that Auburn wins the day in this game. Give me Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing for San Diego State that might help them out is that this game's in Spokane, if I remember right. So obviously,
I believe so. Yeah.
yeah. So I know obviously Auburn's going to have a tough time traveling from there. San Diego State, they might do it, but I don't know. So if it sounds anything like Viejas Arena, we may be in for something.
Mhm.
But I still like Auburn. I think ultimately you have two very strong defenses, so you just got to give it to the very best offense, which is Auburn in this case,
Yeah.
and by a pretty comfortable margin.
So we got BYU versus Illinois, and this is going to be an absolute shootout. Both teams have really good shooting and really good offenses. I'm gonna go with BYU. I feel like there needs to be a upset some point in this region, and I don't see many upsets in this region. So I got BYU Cougars beating Illinois.
I like the reasoning, and I'm actually going to disagree here. I'm going to go with Illinois.
Damn.
Yep. Well, obviously I had Illinois dropping in the first round. So, but I did kind of go back and forth. I did look at a BYU Illinois matchup,
Mhm.
but the main thing that I like about BYU is the fact that they can shoot the lights out. And I think overall, preparing against teams like Houston, Iowa State, I think their defense can tighten up in a few spots, take some cues off of those teams. Illinois, I don't know if they can do that as well. And again, I just don't trust Brad Underwood that much.
I
So
do not either.
ultimately, give me the team that's from a postseason perspective and even from a regular season perspective is just the best overall. And to me, that's BYU and the Big 12.
I like it. And now
Wagner Seahawks, let's go.
they won.
Wagner wins 71-68. Howard had like 3 threes, open
Let's go.
threes, and they missed all 3 of them.
Nice.
Wagner wins,
Oh,
and they will face
Nice.
North Carolina.
and now we got the battle of Iowa teams in Omaha. What a battle. I got Iowa State Cyclone. So this is when Drake's run ends and possibly DeVries will announce that he's going to Oklahoma State. That is a possible rumor. So we'll see.
Yeah, I got Iowa State, and I just think that this defense is just filthy. Like we said, that they force turnovers at such a high clip, and it's just so difficult going against this kind of defense. Drake's not used to that, so I gotta go with Iowa State.
Love it. And
Yep. Sometimes the problem with Drake is that they run to Matador defenses. Iowa State is not a Matador defense
no,
No
by
way.
any stretch.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
they might hold Drake
it's the
in
exact
50s.
opposite of a Matador defense.
Drake
So
might
Iowa
score in
State,
the
I
50s.
say they win comfortably.
Mhm.
Me too.
And now it is the Sweet 16, guys. UConn versus Auburn. I am struggling on this game, so I'm gonna let y'all two discuss it first, and then if I'm the deciding vote, then so be it.
This is hard, and
Mhm.
I'm back and forth on this one because we'll get to something for tomorrow later. But I'm going with the upset. I'm going with Auburn over Connecticut, and I just feel like that it's hard to repeat. It is super hard, and the last time it was done is 2006 and 2007. And for a reason, it is so difficult. And I know UConn is a great team, but Auburn can match up with them. They can match. They can match up inside against Clinton with Broome. They have the guards to at least bother Tristan Newton, and they got enough wings to play defense to guard those shooters on the wing. So I gotta go with Auburn on the upset.
Derek, who do you
Yeah,
have?
this is definitely one of the most difficult matchups. This is where the rubber is going to meet the road for this UConn team. They've cruised through to that point of the tournament, presumably, but now we see them face against someone who is a sleeper candidate for a championship, maybe. So this one is a little tricky. I don't really know how deep in the waters Auburn is willing to go. And plus, the thing with Auburn is that even though they'll have all of this time, where is this game? Let's
It's
start with
Boston. It's Boston. It's in.
So they're going to have to go from Spokane to Boston.
That's a good point.
And they're already going to be tired because they went deep into championship week.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to be coming off presumably a San Diego State team that's going to bother them to no end. And now all of a sudden, all of that, and you are facing the national champions. I think that's going to be a tall order. And again, UConn's going to have that home field advantage with their proximity. So ultimately, all of these things, I think it's going to be a great matchup. But give me UConn in this case to try and go to the Elite Eight and keep their repeat bid alive.
Well, I had to look back at my bracket that I made last night because I didn't even remember who I chose in this matchup. It was that close. Turns out I had Auburn winning, but Derek, you made a lot of good points with the traveling. And I'm thinking of going back with UConn. I kid you not, initial reaction bracket, I had UConn. My bracket yesterday, Auburn. Now I'm thinking UConn again.
You're welcome.
There. That's who I'm picking. That is who I'm picking. I might be changing by Thursday morning again. So
Oh, I've already said I'm making at least a few brackets. So
I kid you
Auburn's
not.
definitely going to win that matchup in at least one of them.
oh yeah.
Probably.
I have
That's
a
going to be
few.
so close.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be so good.
That's a loaded matchup, man. I'm telling you, that region is loaded, man. I mean, you have a
Yep.
Big
Best
East
one seed,
SEC champion,
best two
Big
seed.
12 champion, Big 10 champions, all in the same. And then you have national runner-up,
Yeah.
Final Four participant. I mean, Boo Booey. I mean, you have so many loaded
This
teams.
is
and
the
players in
region
this
of
region.
death.
You have Tucker DeVries as well. I mean, and phenomenal player, by the way, as well. I mean, come on, this is a loaded region. And I just don't understand why everybody thinks that UConn's going to have a cakewalk through this region. And it's difficult. It is.
They're absolutely not.
Yeah.
If they make it back to the Final Four, they're going to earn it.
Mhm.
Absolutely
That's
no
what this
doubt.
is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. If they get out of this region, I would be happy for them, and they deserve it, for
Yeah.
sure.
Whoever comes out of this bracket could easily win the Natty.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think so too. Probably.
I like a lot of the teams in this.
Me too.
Also, my Zoom only has 10 minutes left, so let's finish this region and then someone else can send another Zoom link since it makes me wait 5 minutes to send another one. So
All right.
Sounds
um,
good.
BYU versus Iowa State. Who do y'all have?
Yelling, screaming, and it is a preview of what
This one's a good game. I know that this would be the third time that they would face this year,
Mhm.
and it's split. The home team won each meeting, right? Now we get on neutral court, and I feel like this is a tough one. And I know that Iowa State played BYU earlier this month, and they beat them, and they beat them by a good double digits. But BYU played tough in that game. Hilton is a nearly impossible place to win at,
It is.
and they hung in there almost the whole entire game, and until the very end when Iowa State hit some free throws. But I think that Iowa State, can win the game still. I know they struggle away from Hilton, but I still think that this defense can get it done, no matter where they're at. So I gotta go with Iowa State.
Melvin Council Jr., who from the first
Yeah, I got Iowa State as well. I think BYU, great 3-point shooting team, but Iowa State has that elite defense, and they're a pretty good offense as well. I think Iowa State's just a more complete team. Give me the Cyclones.
in the middle of the floor, he did a great job.
Yep. Defense travels, and Iowa State's got the better defense. So ultimately, go with them and just roll with it.
I agree. And that means we got Elite Eight matchup of the 1 versus number 2 seed. And
Probably the only time this is going to happen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Probably. The only other time I
Certainly.
can consider it is the Midwest region, but
But that comes
man,
back.
I think I'm gonna go with Iowa State here. I think UConn's run is gonna end eventually, whether it's against Auburn or Iowa State. I think it's gonna run in before the Final Four. And in this case, I got Iowa State beating UConn.
Melvin Council there with the
I agree, and it's Iowa State over UConn, in my opinion as well. I'm just saying that I know UConn is fantastic, and like I said earlier, it's so hard to repeat. And against a Big 12 champion, against the best conference champion out there, and it's Iowa State, and they're going to win this game outright over UConn. So give me Iowa State.
I love it.
Yeah, this one's going to be so close. I picked UConn at first just because the offense is so deep, so loaded with talented shooters, and they have the defense to match up with Iowa State. They're one of the few teams that can say that, I think. So right now I have UConn, but obviously this is going to be a close matchup no matter what. So again, this could be a matchup that decides who wins the national championship.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely could be.
Well, We're gonna start the next region after this. Gonna
Next to-
end the recording right now and get another Zoom link started.
Sounds
See you
great.
in a bit.